late, you're going to get penalties. You are really bad at control, you will get penalized. It's about being in the right place. So it says, you go, okay, so you go for a while, you go, oh, just turn around. Take up time. If you get a little confused, get a little down on time, more time. The trick with using this have a form that is turning it maybe remember is that if you're one of the firms turns in you put it in at the next control. You need to make sure you turn that part in. Being all along, rally, driving away from yourself. It is observed that you have official happens more than qualified from getting registered by the club, and your make sure that we are legally and on the road. Our rally road rally driveways, mailbox, driveway. Kind of on it that indicates it's private, no outlet, dead, no through traffic. But don't consider it as an opportunity. Or maybe it looks road, but it's really not. Really trying to put some kind of sign on it. Might say D does not exist. Marker. Do it. Example, you're in a car entering only go that rally road right because you can lawfully go that way. Rally road to the everybody have directions. that's the deviation in instruction. That's telling you what to do. The other thing about instruction might tell you to do is speed. But enter right. Say so right. Very about road rallies is acronym. Average speed to. Okay, so I told you that in the point there's a specific average speed. In this case, it's to say on included in the lifetime. So if we look at 1 minute, so number 9 there, 35 something, 35, and then you're looking for a spot. You're going to pause 1 minute. Let's add time to the light. Let's talk anything in our instructions, all you are any object that can describe simple that are not even is people mailboxes, newspaper boxes, objects. Signs, route sign, direct sign. We will not find or what you were ready to out and walk outside the road trying to find it. And there are other calibrations. So whatever route you have to be able to look at that sign and see exactly those letters and the order. Or what on that sign, it has to be exact regarding spelling, punctuation, detail, shape. Now it could be that we use part of the sign. A3. Entirety. Because you can it doesn't have to be everything. You can quote out of that sign. Okay, welcome to the city. You can put that look at is a landmark in the route. You'll know that it's a landmark in all caps. No quotes, all caps. And right stop on commercial. The time is too. All caps, no quotes. defined terms. So stop, no quote, sections of highway, but the other word in there, so that word, all that's a landmark. So what's a landmark? It's a physical object. But here, you're not looking for an object. We know that means okay, that means it has to be controlled by a legal highway. Okay, well, commercial landmark, that means it has to be identified by line. So when you commercial, it's a object, it's a road. It says commercial, so you know this is an object. So what is defined? And it all has to do with a reference point is a place where you can like for one of the definitions of that is after previous instruction. You don't have to talk about it. Kept 3 miles. Where used to be that after. So an example of a reference point. Another place where you can do construction. So for so any construction that has official mileage must be at that that's correct. Mileage to be the correct reference and that you can actually do it there. There has to be a right there. Now if you have mileage and you couldn't wasn't the right reference or the right opportunity, there's no intersection. Right. Either you're you need to go back to you want to beginning here outcome. Before you drive away, make sure you trip there. Make sure you start out that when you get to and you're looking for that facing sign of Old Scotch Church, you know that once you get about 4 miles, I think for motor Alpine 4.7, we don't have any indications of that. So that's distraction rather than giving you a that's all there is. That's all right. So now you're driving around the intersection that you can have says there are 3 types of route instructions. Numbered route instructions, notes, and there's supplements. We're not going to talk too much about notes quite yet. Let's take what it says here about set numerical order. About that. Regardless of what order they may be presented on the paper, so another is active. When all parts of the preceding numbered route instructions have been completed. What this is, you open your order and you have to have multiple actions in it. You have to complete that entire run before you start looking for anything to do with the next transaction. Point could be introduced. It could be introduced on a slip with check information. It could be introduced there. And at that point, you introduce you keep on doing instructions, and then for that, right? It's just every time you have an opportunity to do that, you keep doing the number, but if you can't do it. Keep looking at instructions. Supplemental instructions, type of instructions. Those are instructions are given to you on the paper when you come into a checkpoint or route control. You'll say somewhere on the slip, then most of those are letters. They can be numbered. It doesn't matter how they can be Roman. Usually, maybe you're going to those fundamental instructions are before you return to the underground instructions. And say, do this, do this, do this. The route is this. Okay, so when you get okay, you're done with those and you go to your number knowledge about where you think it is, it may not be where you think it is. Okay, you know where these checkpoints are going to be. But as you drive on, you're going to get that checkpoint sign alongside the road. Beyond that, there will be a control car on the path. You'll be there's enough room for you your passenger your next to the window. You want to get a window and you're going to pass through back and forth. You're they're going to write down the scorecard exactly when you pass a checkpoint sign. They're also going to write down what time you should start the day. And on the supplemental instructions, they're going to give you back your scorecard. They're going to give you supplemental instructions. With a it'll all what happened on the last like right what you do wrong. What was the actual distance and where they are. That's going to be on that section to tell you where they are. Now you want to pull out that output. The point here is that you don't block control. So let's take a quick look at control again. 1.5. At 1 minute or you start out and when you come to control part, you assign out times for the next leg and 1 minute apart. But as happens, you learn that parts a little bit close together. You need to clear that control so that the next part can begin. So that's what you're saying. You don't block the control. Most do. Back there, you know you're early. There's a checkpoint. Yeah, checkpoint. So you can pull it. Get far third. Stop in front of the checkpoint. Point through the way. They wave you in. I think you don't see the wave. They wave you in. You're going to get assessed on that without thing. Control. That's 300 weight. Time if you have time to right hand, you pull up and you pull yourself out. The